All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the social media engagement team training. Really glad to have everyone here. My name is Brent Goodlett. I'm a new comms person working with 350 Colorado, and I'm having backup support from Kate Christensen, who's also on the video. She's waving. There you go. And we're going to go and do a social media engagement team training. It should be a pretty short training, about 15 minutes of me talking with some slides, with some questions afterwards. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm gonna do the scary part of trying to start sharing my screen, and hopefully this works. Okay. Do folks see my screen? Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. I'm gonna get this into present mode. Wait a second for my little poor computer to load, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, and just in case I can't see everyone in the room, if you have a question, probably hold it to the end, but if you need to get someone's attention, try to get Kate's attention. All right. So thank you all for being here. Again, this is for 350 Colorado's social media engagement team training. And again, my email and Kate's email are down at the bottom, and we'll also provide these slides. Actually, that reminds me, I'll put a link in the chat right now to the slides. Everyone, there, feel free to browse them at your leisure, but you should be able to just listen in now. So the outline of the presentation today, we'll start with the purpose for this group, talk about how the team will generally operate, and talk about some high-level strategy, talk about what makes for some engaging content, because really that's what we want. We want to generate engagement, and how do you boost engagement with hashtags and mentions, and talk about some accounts to follow, to mention, and some key hashtags that'll help you along the way. So the purpose, pretty simple, everyone. It's basically, we want to expand the reach and impact of our social media networks, both of individuals and of the groups that we engage with online. And we want to make an impact on this fight for climate change here in Colorado. So how basically will the team operate? Those who sign up will be added to a Google group or an email list, and you'll receive a simple weekly coordination email from 350 Colorado. This email will include some things different each week, but in general, you could expect it to have a focus area for the week, what we want to be talking about. We'll try to include some talking points and a sample post, because as you'll see later, a lot of people are interested in just liking and sharing content, and we want to give content for everyone. We'll provide links to relevant news stories or other media that may be useful in crafting your own posts. We'll have hashtags and mentions, accounts to hashtag, or hashtags to put in your messages, and accounts to mention, and other details that might help you along the way. In general, team members are encouraged to like, share each other's posts throughout the week whenever you log on. Make your own posts if you're interested, or you can take the sample post that we provide and go with that. And really as little or as much engagement as you want throughout the week, even 5 minutes, one time a week, just going on and liking some of the posts that are being put out there by other people in the team, all of that really actually does help. So some quick stats on those who responded. We have a majority of users, 75% or so, who say they use Facebook. About half of folks use Twitter, a third maybe use Instagram, and smaller fractions use Reddit and TikTok. So the primary focus of the presentation today will be talking about Facebook and for Twitter. And just a little bit more about the responses from the sign-up form. Basically, everyone's down with liking and sharing content. That's what we call boosting engagement. About 70% of folks are interested in copying and pasting like pre-written content or doing very little modifications to it. About half are interested in kind of crafting your own message. That is very useful if you have the time to do it. It helps say things in your own words. And then smaller amounts are interested maybe in generating content for others. So again, general strategy, it's pretty simple. A lot of liking and sharing content that is being created by others on the team and 350 Colorado, with the general goal of raising the discussion of climate change and other current events related to oil and gas operations and the regulation of greenhouse gases in the state. We really would be interested in uplifting stories from disproportionately impacted communities and our partner organizations. So keep an eye out for any content that comes your way that might be in one of those buckets. It's a strategy for folks who are making their own posts, but it is actually good to call out misinformation and greenwashing when you see it. You see corporations like Exxon go out there and say all the good stuff they're doing for the environment, but that's mostly just PR and greenwashing, as most of people know. And in general, it's good to advocate for strong regulations at the AQCC, the Air Quality Control Commission, or the COGCC, which is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, and bugging Governor Polis. He's ultimately the one who puts every one of those commissioners on those boards, so he's got a lot of power in this. And in general, we want to be talking about the cumulative impacts of all these oil and gas operations on our climate, on our environment, particularly things like fracking, extraction, and the combustion of these fossil fuels. And it's always good to think about what's next, like what do we do after we get rid of the fossil fuel infrastructure, and that's like the just transition. And be mindful that it includes for workers and for communities. 350 Colorado specifically is calling for an orderly phase out of fossil fuel production in Colorado by 2030. That's why that's in blue. That's a 350 Colorado goal. And we're also interested in generally activating others to join our fight, to make posts, to perform calls to action, which could be something from being a climate voter to writing an LTE or an op-ed in a local newspaper, or providing public comment or sending emails. So all of those are good things to engage and encourage. So what makes for engaging content? You know, you want to have a positive impact. I'd say to educate, entertain, and inspire. Those are good goals, preferably. Eliciting negative emotions like fear, anger, and disgust, that does get engagement, as you probably know if you've been on social media, but that can also lead to conflict, closed-mindedness, and despair. So I generally would recommend sticking to more of that more optimistic side of things. And keep your posts super short, shorter the better. 98% of Facebook users, for example, are using Facebook on their phones. It's a small screen. Any long posts just get shortened in the preview. And you really want to get people's attention when they're scrolling through their phone on these platforms. So how do you do that? You want to focus on quality over quantity. And the way you get quality is you include multimedia content. A lot of those, like a news story or a picture, video, or audio file, will generate a preview in your post. And that is like great at catching people's eyes. And in general, whenever you're making a post, it's good to be relatable, be human, share how this is making you feel. That's all good stuff. And it's also good potentially if you want to ask a question in your post and then to engage with folks who respond. But I would warn you, avoid arguing with trolls, or what, in simpler terms is bad faith actors, people that are just there to argue. You're not going to get anywhere doing that. So I wouldn't waste your time. But you can get to know your audience, and like audience who is on your social media profiles, and try to think about crafting messages to people that you're talking to. That's always good. And also it's great to be active in Facebook groups. Groups are different audiences than your news feed, and you can post in both places and reach different audiences. So 350 Colorado has a page, but there's also different groups in different regions of the state, and you can post in all of those. Generally avoid engagement bait is what it's called. Basically, don't just call or ask for people to like your post and like retweet it without, or like share the post without having any real other meaningful content engagement with it. At least for Facebook, they do penalize posts that are just saying like, I need 1,000 people to like this post, you know, type of a thing. So just be real. Don't try to overthink it. And in general, it's good to engage in trending conversations, breaking news stories and stuff like that. And in general, it's also good to reach out to people in your network themselves and ask them to share content. That's all good stuff. So, oh yeah, and I just wanted to mention on the getting to know your audience thing. This is just demographic information for 350 Colorado's Facebook page on the left and its Instagram page on the right. And this was interesting to me when I saw it. 2/3 of the followers on both Facebook and Instagram for 350's page is women. So that's something useful to know. We are reaching more women than men. And we're also on Facebook, it's a pretty even distribution of ages from 25 to 65. But on Instagram in particular, again, on the right, it's a huge skew to the younger demographics. 25 to 40 is pretty much the large majority of our followers on Instagram. And you'll probably find similar for your own experiences as well. So how do we boost engagement with hashtags and with mentions? This can be kind of a stickier subject, so I just wanted to spend a little time detailing it. Basically, hashtags are great. You can use them for various purposes. You can identify the subject of your post, and those subject will link strangers potentially on other parts of the social media platform to your post based on searching for the subjects. They also serve as links, so you can go from someone else's posts on a specific topic, follow that link and find other posts that are on similar topics. And they're also great at emphasizing key campaign messages. And so I give 3 examples here. These are all from Twitter, but you can do the same hashtag and @ mentions on Facebook as well. So just an example of subject hashtags, we have fracking and methane in Colorado in this post. Again, you can probably deduce what the post is about, talking about oil and gas production in Colorado. So that's an example of using subjects hashtags. Up on the top right, you have examples of key campaign messages being used as hashtags. You got the hashtag Build Back Better, which if you recognize that's Joe Biden's platform policy, and hashtag Hold the Line. Hold the Line is just referring to members of Congress trying to keep the care, the jobs, the justice, and all of that into the current bills that are being debated. Those are those campaign messages examples. And then for mentions, these @ symbols, you're referring to individual accounts. On this bottom tweet here, we have Governor of Colorado is one of the persons we're mentioning, CDPHE, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. There's also the APCD, the Air Pollution Control Division, and Colorado OGCC, that's the COGCC. And so these are the specific ways that you would refer to them on Twitter. But if you are on Facebook now, specifically, the governor has, his account is @Jared Polis. When you type that into your Facebook post, it will automatically translate it to a link that just comes up as Governor Jared Polis. That's defined by how the governor puts on his profile. If you type in @CDPHE into your comment, that will then auto show up as Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And then CDPHE.APCD is how you get to the Air Pollution Control Division. And these, again, will link people on your message to the specific pages. And it will also notify the person that you're mentioning. So it increases the likelihood that those individuals will engage with your content. And I'm just throwing out there that the AQCC and the COGCC don't seem to have Facebook pages. So if instead you want to refer to them, you can put hashtags to kind of get that topic identifier, or you can just write them out into the message. And on Twitter, those are very similar. Jared Polis is also the same, but @gov of CO is his official governor account. The CDPHE and APCD are the same, except there's no dot on the Twitter APCD account. And then Colorado, spelled out OGCC, is the COGCC. And if you're looking at using hashtags, here's some good ones that we often are using: fracking, methane, oil and gas. I would just caution to avoid using natural gas. That's kind of a term of art for the industry. They want people to think it's natural. It's not. It's a fossil gas or a fracked gas. Both of those would be better uses, or calling it methane or just fossil fuels in general. All of those are better than natural gas. You can call hashtag climate change or climate crisis. Both are great. And something close to Kate and I's work with 350 is the financial assurance stuff that's happening at the COGCC. Financial assurance or financial assurances with an S, both of those work. And common hashtags that we've been using, these key campaign messages for these rulemakings, would be examples like full cost bonding, pause the permits, and make polluters pay. Less common, but still applicable, would be like 700 series rulemaking. Again, that's referring to the financial assurance rulemaking at the hashtag COGCC. And right now, if you see on these slides, there's a link to team instructions document and a link to an action hour toolkit. These should be clickable. The action hour toolkit is specifically for the pause the permits action hour that Kate and I ran, mostly Kate, and I supported her last month. And then the team instructions document, this is eventually where we're going to put team members' account information, if they would like, to be followed by others. Currently, we haven't collected that information, so it's not necessarily there, but the team instructions document will have that eventually. And then also some more partner organizations for you to engage and follow with. Oh, and I just realized I didn't finish saying the last ones down here. For Colorado specifically, that's a good hashtag, but Colorado Ledge, LEG for legislature, and Colorado or CO politics. Both of those are great and very common throughout the social media environments. And on a more national level, again, Build Back Better, or as I like to use, Build Back Greener. That's a pretty common one. And then you can do Just Transition or Environmental Justice. Both of those are also really good ones. And so, yeah, with that, I'm going to minimize this and ask if there are any questions. I know I kind of ran through that pretty quick.
Hey, Brent, there was a question in the chat about about the hashtags for using those, are they for people who search for specific hashtags?
Yeah,
Or...
they have multiple purposes. So I have, and people do, search for subject matter or for key campaign messages by hashtag. So definitely that is a method for them, yeah.
But is it also, and I'm just trying to understand, I was just trying to download Twitter on my phone so I can be a part of this too, and I forgot my password. But I was wondering, but we're also kind of trying to build up our hashtag, right? Like the financial assurances hashtag is something like we're really pushing and will be soon. Like, so I feel like there's two, like one for people who are searching, and then things that we're trying to get moving, which is part of the reason for this group, right?
Yeah, well, so definitely that's, I guess, what I would say categorize as a campaign message. Build Back Better or pause the permits. That is generally should be self-explanatory if people know what the context of it is. Pausing the permits is referring to pausing new permits at the COGCC in our context, or transfers of permits. But in general, like pause the permits is like a PR kind of worked out statement that's really pithy, that really gets the point across. And so, yeah, putting that into, like, you can just throw that at the end of a post that's vaguely on the subject of the COGCC or the financial assurance rulemaking. And that when you click on it, you can see, as an example on Twitter, is see other posts that have that as a hashtag. And you can also, it'll probably show at the top like a top post. So one of the posts that has the most likes or shares with that hashtag in it. And hopefully, if we're doing a good job, you'll know who that post is from, because it might be someone here on this call or someone in the social media team.
There are a few more questions in the chat that are great. Do we have the demographics for our Twitter followers? I think I just saw the ones for our Facebook, but I didn't see the in Instagram.
Yeah, I went looking for that. I think there may be a way to get that information, but I couldn't find it readily. What Twitter offers, they have a free analytics tool that will tell you how your tweets are performing. And this is open to anyone. So you can go on your personal account on the menu on the left-hand side and find analytics. And it'll say like, this post has this much engagement. This post was liked by this many people. But it doesn't tell me about the people who are liking. I think that's because Facebook doesn't have as much of that personal information about its users as, or I hope I said that correctly. Twitter doesn't have as much of the personal information as a Facebook does. The Facebook comes with like a profile about you, and Twitter is like a short little bio, which is basically whatever text you put in about yourself. So I think that's a long answer of saying I don't have it, but that might be something we could find.
There's another question. Will there also be any email messages? If so, should we send additional contacts so the messages reach a broader base? I think this is just focusing on social media. But if you want to craft any of the messaging we do into emails that you send your friends, absolutely do that, I think. I don't know. What do you think on that, Brent?
Yeah, so we as 350 will send an email to anyone who signs up for the team, and you're welcome to share that or forward that on to other folks. That's definitely public information. You know, anyone can also sign up for those emails. And in general, I think that the information that we will give in those emails, hopefully weekly, would be enough if you wanted to craft an email from it, because we'll try to get some talking points and a sample message. But I don't think the plan currently was to like have a copy and paste ready email message every week. But we haven't really even, you know, this is like a new thing for us. We're kind of gonna see how it goes. And if that's a demand, like something people are very interested in having, and it's something that we can do, then we might do that.
Yeah, I think you all probably get enough emails from 350. We send out a lot of emails. So feel free to forward any of those that you want onto friends. And also you guys are at like y'all, all our friends are at the like ground level of something super new that we're trying. So if it works for you, invite your friends to join us and we'll just broaden our reach. I know Mike said in the chat he can't keep up with all the emails. There's a lot happening. I can't keep up with all the stuff that's happening. But sorry, go ahead, Brent.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just wanting to say that if you have something that you would like to be uplifted, you can definitely send them to me, Brent at 350colorado.org. And I'm going to try to be responsive in the sense that these emails that we send out to folks, like we want to be talking about what people want to hear about. So if there's something like an important news story you think we might need to be tracking, you can send that to me. If there's some event that's occurring that you think could be uplifted, that's all great information that we could potentially send out in that email. And when it's sent out in the email, hopefully then we'll get a whole bunch of other people to spread that word. So there is an option to have information flow back to us, and that's, you know, feel free to avail yourself of that.
And Ron had a good suggestion in the chat about the hashtag benzene for Bella Romero. Like that's something that we haven't put on our radar yet, but I think that's a great idea. And I think that would be a great one to uplift, like kind of when a news cycle or event or action comes around for Bella Romero. Definitely, we can have that on our radar too. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and that's honestly, it's a problem for more than even just Bella Romero. I know that's also an issue for like the Suncor facility in North Denver or Commerce City area, and in general, that's like one of those keywords like methane that I think is great for us to put hashtags on, because it's commonly associated with the oil and gas processing and production, and it's a huge environmental hazard for humans. So yeah, definitely.
All right, I want to flag the time. We promised a half-hour training, which it's 7:30 right now, friends. So I'm just saying, if you left now, we fulfilled our promise to only keep you for a half hour. But I want to invite any more questions or thoughts that people have.
And feel free to stick around too if you're a little shy. We'll end the recording soon, and
Yeah, I can.
always
If we don't have
email.
any more questions, I'll end the recording, and then anybody can ask afterwards too. But I'm so excited to launch this. This is the beginning. This is the seed where we're gonna expand and start like working all the algorithms and talking outside of the choir. And this is how we start. Just saying. But Ron, you unmuted. I feel like, what would you like to add?
Wonder why I did that.
Well, it's good to get some FaceTime with you, Ron.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you everyone for showing up. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, as I said, email me anytime.
Well, thank you all for launching this.
Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be good. Ron, Climate Hero of the Month. Okay, I'll stop recording now.